Like, I get changing PC Engine. That just sounds like a Japanese name for a console.
Right. So what you selling? A CPU? Like what's this?
Yeah, right. Yeah, just marketing wise, just like what? So of course they call it the Turbo Graphics with an X.
It's not even spelt right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they
It's
just
got an
add
F in there somewhere. Fuck me. Really?
Yeah, it's Turbo Graphics with an FX. Come on. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I totally missed that. Like I was just like, why can't anyone spell graphics? Like that.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense now.
I believe it's intercapped Turbo, then GRAFX-16. I think is
Dude,
the name of the system.
you are the TurboGrafx 16 guru. Like I will take your word for it, my friend.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 8 of our Coffee and Beer Fueled General Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Vin Hill, and joining me as always is my co-host from the opposite time zone, Mr. Evan Piotrowski.
Toss a coin for your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley. I'm not playing the whole song, but yeah, it's a good one.
Dude, that song has been stuck in mine and my wife's head for like the last week.
I swear
I'm
to
not
God.
even joking, like since we started watching it.
I can't get it out. I really can't.
It's so good. It's so good.
It really is that good.
And it's such a bad song, but it's such a good song at the same time.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's yeah. I can't. It's like in the shower, like brushing my teeth, right when I wake up, drinking coffee. I can't stop.
Last week I found like a video online of just like the song, and I have to admit I put it on loop for a while, and like 4 hours went by, and it was just like, oh valley of plenty. I'm like, fuck, well, like this is a bad thing. I shouldn't be doing this. Like, this is awful.
Yeah, I mean, shame on you at that point for putting it on a 4-hour loop, but
right, it just like I was zoned out. Like I was at work, I was painting, I was just in the zone sort of thing, and just Witcher going by in my head. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so it's 2020. We have returned from the ether because amongst other problems, like we ran into computer problems with you, Evan. I think your computer died when it sailed off into the west for a while, I guess.
Yeah, it's excuse number 1, I went to Hawaii. Excuse number 2, it's all on my end. I should really be apologizing.
No, I had a couple problems as well.
Yeah, a couple things happened, but MacBook's
it's just
back.
bad timing all around.
Yeah,
but it's all good. We are back with a fresh new year, but we do have to look back at 2019 a little bit today because we're going to be doing our year in review.
Yes. Woo-hoo. I think this is the 4th time we've done this, because I remember the first time I had just bought my PlayStation 4, so it would have been the 2016.
The year of PS3 game reviews.
Yeah, wait,
I remember this.
Hey, don't forget who you're talking to. When I say I bought my PS4, I mean 2016, not 2013. Much like I mean 2012 when I bought my PlayStation 3 and not 2006.
Jesus Christ. But that's not a bad thing. Like you're one of those guys that sort of I'm envious of, because you pick up a console and you've got like fucking 50 games to play, you know, like really good games as well. Not like you're not waiting month after month. It's like, yeah, I'm going to play that and I'm going to play this. I'm like, really? Like I knew a friend that picked up a PS3 like halfway through the PS4's life cycle, and he was like, yeah, what should I play? And I'm like, all right, you got to play this, you got to play that, you got to play this, and I was actually really jealous of him, because I was like, fuck, like he's gonna be able to just sit down and play title after title after title after title, just like game of the years all the way through, you know, like just bossing it.
Right. Like, oh. Well, who knows, man? I mean, depending on the rumors of the PS5, maybe we will still have plenty of games to play when that thing comes out.
This is very true.
Yeah,
this is very true. But we'll see. But first, yeah, we're going to do our game of the year reviews. So, but we don't just do game of the year. We have a lot of nonsense sort of, you know, year in review sort of things, but it's all good. But we'll get to those in good time. If you're a returning listener, then you'll know what sort of nonsense that we do go through, and we hope that you enjoy it. For new people listening to us, we hope you enjoy it as well. If you don't enjoy it, then piss off. Why here? I don't know why you're listening, but it's all good. we'll figure it out either way. All right, yeah. So we're going to move into our main sort of event and talk about what our favorite games were of the year, I guess. To start this off, we're going to go into what was the best 2018 game of 2019. I know this is one of Evan's favorite sort of categories to go into. So, Evan, what is your pick this year?
All right, and usually what we'll do here is just kind of say the pick that we had last year, and then move into our
Mm-hmm.
pick for this year. Last year for
This is
me,
true.
and this is not games that came out in the year. This is games that we played in that calendar year,
Right.
which
Yeah,
is absolutely hilarious because I actually didn't play a single game that got released in 2019 last year.
yeah.
I have no idea how that happened. But anyways, so my best 2017 game of 2018 was Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh, what a game.
What a
Yeah, fair
game!
play.
So pissed that Microsoft bought Ninja Theory because I really want to play Senua's Saga,
Whatever, man.
whatever it's called.
Hellblade 2. Let's
Hell,
just call it that.
there, thank you, Hellblade 2. But this year, the award goes to Judge Eyes, not Judgment,
Mm.
mind you. Judge Eyes came out in 2018, so it counts. Uh, back to Kamurocho, they decided to go with a different protagonist. I really, really like the game. It's not Yakuza, so there's a bit of it doesn't have the aura of a Yakuza game, nor does it have this giant overarching story of Kiryu for like 7 games.
Yeah.
One thing that bothered me that probably bothered no one else is that the main character is modeled after Kimutaku, who is from a boy band called SMAP. And then
Yeah.
that was like super, and Vin, you know this as well. You lived
Yeah,
in
yeah, I do.
Japan.
I mean, it's funny. Like me and I think me and Rachel watched a trailer for it because you were playing it, and I was like, oh, I'll check out a trailer for it because maybe it's down my alley because I haven't really gotten to the Yakuza game still. I booted up the trailer and we both looked at each other like, is that the dude from like? It was just so weird.
So like, yeah, this guy was in a boy band, and then they moved into like television, and then he did like television like dramas and movies. But he's been around in Japan, in pop culture since like the 90s. And I just it would be like if like a mixture, like I don't even know, like Tom Cruise and Justin Bieber were scanned into a video game, and he's supposed to be like this bad. I guess Tom Cruise kind of punches people in like Jack Reacher and shit, but imagine Justin Bieber, I guess, and he's like walking around being a private eye and like beating people, like wiping the floor with all these like yakuza and punks. It's just like I just don't buy it. Um,
Yeah.
he's older now. He's not in a boy band. He's like fucking like 45 or something. But there's just something about that slightly annoyed me. But the story is really, really solid.
Mm.
It's got nods. They mention like certain names of like clans and stuff because it takes place in the same universe. But they changed up enough stuff. I wish they did more with the actual detective stuff. Like there's some courtroom scenes where you're asked questions, and based on like the evidence uh, from what like the chapter that you played, and
Yeah.
the stuff that you'd kind of like picked up and found out about, you're supposed to answer in court. But after like chapter 2, they get away from that a lot, and then it just becomes more like kind of a punchy game. And I really wish they would have added more of that kind of like courtroom, because you're like a private eye. You're a lawyer who quit and turned into a private eye because of something happened in his past. And I really wish they would have did more of that stuff to kind of break up the
Is it
beat 'em up
is it
stuff.
made by the same people though? Like,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it?
same studio, same engine as Yakuza 6 and Yakuza Kiwami 2, trying to squeeze
Mm.
money out of that engine there.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't blame them.
but no, it's good. It's not. I guess you can obviously tell I'm not as enthusiastic about it as I am about the Yakuza series proper,
Right.
but it's good. It's a really good game, and yeah, those guys really one of the better stories, I would say. I mean, they really find a way to just do these kind of weird mystery melodramas taking place in like the underbelly of Tokyo's crime scene type of stuff, and
Right.
lots of revelations and betrayals and intertwining, and it definitely has that kind of like what's going on. I'm going to keep playing because I have to find out type of carrot on the stick, which I love in games. So, yep, that's mine. And Vin, how about you? What is your best 2018 game of 2019?
I don't have one. I'm not gonna lie. I everything I played this year was pretty much new. Like I
Uh,
said, there was a lot of like mediocre, like right down the middle games. So what I am gonna do, I'm gonna mention a game which came out in 2017, and then put that in. I guess.
well,
Kind
these
of
are the
cards.
most arbitrary of awards, so do what you want.
Screw it. Like I'm just gonna twist it up, I guess. Yeah, I played Neo this year, like properly from start to finish, and I actually finished it off.
Oh, oh, you beat it? I heard that game was like
Yeah,
hard as balls.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a Souls game, pretty much. It's a complete rip off from like Bloodborne and all that sort of stuff, but set in sort of like Japan with like the yokai and stuff, and you play as like some British dude that rocks up in Japan trying to find his spirit animal or some shit. Like it's completely bananas and off the rails,
Jesus.
but it's fun. I mean, it's another Souls game. I finished it. I think it was on PSN for free as well for a lot of people, but I already had it in my library, so I booted it back up and I thought, oh, I'll give it another spin. Ended up sinking 80 hours into it.
Oh my god.
Uh, yeah, it's pretty wild. But the game that never ends, sort of thing. But it was fun. I mean, not the best game in the world. It wouldn't be on my game of the year list, like if I played it in 2017 or anything like that. But it's a solid game. Like I'm actually looking forward to Neo 2 now. So yeah, I mean, if people have got it in their backlog now because they've had it in their with PlayStation Plus or whatever, because I think it was either last month or the month before it was free. If you put it in there, then like I urge you to try it out. Like it's not actually that bad. Like give it a good hour. See how you feel about it. I mean, if you're into that sort of Souls game type of action adventure, then you'll probably be into this. Like it's decent. Like once you figure out all the mechanics, though it is very like UI heavy and inventory heavy, and you have to do a lot of micromanaging.
Hmm.
So if you're not into that shit, then stay the hell away from this game. But if you're into that and you get into like crazy RPG mechanics of like, oh, I need this helmet to like sort of get my health up by 3 points, but you know it'll also bring down my frost magic and stuff. Like if you're into that stuff, like you'll love this game. If that
Ooh.
stuff intimidates and scare you, stay the hell away. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I can really say about it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I
I try it out. Like I said,
I'm kind of
it
afraid of
might
that
ease
game.
you in.
Like I have it in my PS Plus
Right.
library. I'm afraid of it. I was afraid of Bloodborne as well, and I like that. Like difficulty wise, how does it stack up?
It's got a curve at the beginning, I guess. Like it's not as like the gradient of difficulty isn't like Bloodborne, where it's like it slowly introduces you to stuff. Like there's quite a like for the first sort of 3 levels of the game, like I'm never gonna finish this thing. But once you get over that hump, you're just like, oh yeah, this I'm gold now. Like, and you can figure out every single enemy sort of thing. But yeah, good variety of enemies, good variety of weapons. There's like 9 different weapons I think you can choose, and they're
Hmm.
all different. They've all got different stances and all that sort of stuff. And every weapon as well. The good thing about the game is it's you can attack low, attack mid, or attack high with every single weapon as well, and that completely changes your speed, how it feels. So even though you use the sword all the way through, if you choose to use the sword, if you change your stance to high, you can do more damage, but you're slower, and you can just totally get used to that and play that game in that style. But if you're like me and you prefer quick attacks, then if you go into a low stance, then it's way faster, but you don't do as much damage. So you sort of account for that, and
Hmm.
you might want to like take off less armor, sort of thing, so you can move faster and things like that. So you can have really quick swipes, and you've got less armor, and you're jumping. It can like all that stuff. You know, it's very RPG focused, where like you change one thing and it changes not only the stats of the game, but it changes the feel of the game completely, which is cool. Like I kind of like that. I think it's people should experiment more with that shit. You know, like I'm wearing heavy armor. I shouldn't be able to roll in it like all the same sort of thing. So it's an interesting sort of concept which I hope more sort of developers sort of like play around with. I hope. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was my favorite 2018/2017 game in
And
2019.
just keep going back. Jeez, can someone just make Bushido Blade again already? Jesus
Right.
Christ. Come on,
New Tenchu. Fuck. Give me a Tenchu game.
let's fast forward this to 1995, 1996.
Amen.
Get it over with.
Amen.
All right, and Vin, our next award is.
So the next category is best old games of 2019, I guess. But when we say old, we mean like 2015, old late, all earlier sort of thing, I guess. So yeah, Evan, what was your pick for 2018?
The Last of Us Left Behind.
Okay, did you
And
get around to it?
yeah, I was not left behind. I caught up,
Uh-huh.
I guess. Last,
Right?
what a terrible name for The Last of Us caught
Did,
up.
did some jogging?
Yes.
Last of Us jogging? Yeah, sorry, I'm butchering this.
It's just, sometimes this ad libbing doesn't usually doesn't work. We haven't learned anything on
No.
this podcast years
Nope.
later. My 2019 best old game is the Last of Us Remastered.
Of course.
Um, after Vin went through so much, you might as well have died similar to Marcus and been resurrected and crawled out of a giant hole, when which I call the experience of the Last of Us Platinum Trophy.
Oh yeah.
But I remember you, as well as my one of my other friends, had played the Last of Us on no, it starts with an S. It's the mode after hard mode.
Survivor.
Survivor, thank you, where it takes out the ability to see through walls. And my friend
Mm.
was like, it sounds like someone is like, oh man, let me just tell you, I beat The Last of Us on Survivor, and it's just like, you shouldn't even be able to see through walls. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, if you don't play the game on Survivor, you haven't really actually played The Last of Us. And like, I don't want to sound
Jesus.
like that,
Yeah.
but playing through it on Survivor mode and not being able to see the walls, number one, it makes more sense. I get it. Some things can be gamified. I didn't have a problem
Mm-hmm.
with seeing through the walls on my first playthrough, but when you get into that game and not being able to see through walls, it changes the feeling of the entire game in a way that
I
I
agree.
think benefits the entire experience, quote unquote. Like there were times where like I was in one of the hotel rooms in Philadelphia and I had no idea where the guys were, but I knew there were a
Right.
couple guys left on the room, and there had been times where like I turned the corner at a wrong time and the guy was turning the corner at the same time, like, oh shit, and I just started punching him. It's like that's how it would be if you were in that
Right.
situation. And I
Absolutely.
think after playing through it and being frustrated and hitting my head against the wall, but once it finally clicked, it's to the point where like for The Last of Us Part 2, if they have this option, I'm immediately going to no seeing through walls, because I just think it takes away from like how the game should be played. I hate to say that. I hate that
No, I
those
know what you
words
mean.
are coming out of my mouth, but also the brick is your friend, Vin. You should have
Yep.
made a YouTube video that was like 5 minutes long. It's like top
I
100
speak
tips for
truth.
The Last of Us Remastered Survivor mode, and it's just like the brick is your friend, and then the video ends.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, this is like I've had this conversation multiple times with people, like over the past sort of few years. But if you're, because I've finished the game in grounded mode as well now, like the hardest difficulty or whatever, not to like boast all of them, but literally, like if I've got a full clip in my gun, like I still feel vulnerable if I haven't got a brick, you know? Like, but if I've got a brick and no bullets, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like, no worries.
Oh, because
Like, I can,
if someone hears you in that mode, like you get shot once or twice, like you're done.
yeah. It's so it doesn't make a difference either way if you've got bullets or not. But if you can get up behind someone and hit them with a brick, like because you can take out clickers, like you throw a brick at them as soon as they're stunned, you can stab them, and it's just that combination of throwing a brick, stab, throwing a brick, stab, sort of thing when you're in an area with clickers, and you can stealth pretty much every area where there's dude with guns. So it's not so crazy.
No,
But
I
yeah,
mean, like
it's
if you
yeah,
get
it's totally
hurt,
valid.
you might as well reload, and so by the end of the game, you are stacked because you just don't use anything. You just stealth the entire game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're in that hospital, like spoiler alert, like you're in the hospital and you just like you've got like an armory on your back. It's like shit. I've been saving up bullets for nothing because
it
there's
is.
no like final boss really. It's just
I do
yeah,
like, you don't have to, but it is like the only place where I was like, you know what, I have everything. Fuck it, and I just went loose on the hospital and like used everything.
right. Yeah,
Which
there
was
you
kind
go.
of fun. Like I treated myself at the end of a long
Yeah.
hard journey to
Hey
shoot.
Evan, you
Yes,
deserved it.
well, thank you. But no,
Yeah.
and the final note, it just reminded me how amazing that game is. Like
Oh yeah.
I hadn't played it since 2013, and to be able to
Mm.
play it, like, what is it? Let's do the math here, Evan. Come on, 6 years later.
5 years, five,
It,
6, yeah.
it's made me way more. I was already excited for Last of Us 2, but it's made me even more excited because of
Yeah,
being able to play that game again, and how it's what a game. It just
yeah.
reinvigorated me on that entire series, and that and Naughty Dog. But Vin, how about you? What is the best old game for last year, and then your pick this year?
Well, I've been sort of playing a lot of retro games over the last few years, but like quote unquote retro games because now the PS1 is retro, I guess. But my 2018 pick was Metal Gear Solid 1. I replayed through that after I got my PlayStation Classic,
Mm-hmm.
and God, I forgot how good that game was. Like, it was so good. I couldn't believe like how much it held up. I thought, oh, this is gonna be like a bag of hot garbage because PS1 games are kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you play them, it's basically a coin flip of this is gonna be a horrific experience that should have stayed in the land of nostalgia, and you should never have booted this game up again.
Right.
Like shout out to Tenchu, Jesus, don't touch them games. Just don't do it. Just walk away. Like keep them in your memory. They're fine there. They like it. Just leave them. Like they're happy. They're actually good games in the back of your memory. Just leave them there.
The attic is cold. They're sleeping. Don't rip the blanket off. They're trying to sleep.
Exactly. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't take candy off a baby. They're like just leave Tenchu where it is. It's fine. But yeah, just don't play that game. But this year I played through Final Fantasy 9 again, which is like my second favorite game of all time. I won't go into it too much because we've spoken about it on a previous episode. It's still an amazing game. I sunk like 100 hours into that thing, like playing all the card games again, did all the side quests, like beat Ozma, like all the ultimate bosses.
Oh wow, yeah, the giant
had a ton of fun.
The
Absolutely
giant like a bubble, whatever the hell that thing is. Yeah,
it's just an orb of annoyance. Like it was the worst boss in human history. That's the only way I can describe it. It's the orb of annoyance. That's the final boss in Final Fantasy 9. But yeah, also I played the original Tomb Raider this year, which really surprised me because I thought that game was going to be a bag of hot mess. But I actually really, really enjoyed it. Like outside of like the really hokey sort of cutscenes, like it really holds up. Like the puzzles are still there. Like them guys were really pioneering sort of the action adventure genre of like environmental puzzle mechanics, which we now see in games like Uncharted and now the new Tomb Raider, I guess. But like the stuff you see in that original game was like shit. Yeah, this was in God of War 2018. Like, and they invented a lot of that shit, and it's wild like how much they sort of figured out. So like playing through Tomb Raider 1 and just sort of appreciating that it was really cool, even though like everything's blocky and cubey and you're trying to like figure out is that a wall or a bunch of pixel art. I'm not too sure.
Like why are the walls and the floor constantly moving?
Right. Like just the twitchy sort of geometric like of the PS1 but no, like the game actually holds up. Like if you can sort of squeeze the graphic side of it out, like it's got a charm to it, like and it was one of the best games which I played like this year and last year I should say. But I'm really excited to actually go play Tomb Raider 2. So I recommend it.
You have metamorphed into some like call you like Vinny Retro. We got to give you like a nickname. Like something happened there. A flip has switched.
It's weird.
And flipped.
It's so weird. I mean, like there's because like I never play like games that are kind of old anymore. Like I don't play like 2013, 2012 games. Like I'm either playing something that's on the PS1 or the PS4. Like there's no PS2, PS3 games really in the middle anymore. So I've got this weird sort of I don't know. But I'm enjoying it.
It's great. Really you're going back to some old games. You're just testing out to see if they still hold up. Seems like
for sure.
FF9 and Tomb Raider do.
Mm-hmm, indeed. All right, so moving on, we're going to talk about our biggest backlogs of shame, considering that we're talking about the whole like old game stuff. But we've all got piles of shame.
Yes.
Evan, have you cleared any of your pile of shame? What was in your pile of shame for 2018? Did you get rid of it?
Well, considering I haven't played a single game from 2019, I checked a bunch of boxes off that list. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, or Human Revolution. I always forget which one comes first and second. Dishonored 2, Doom 2016. Check those all off the list. Nice. For 2018, my biggest backlog pile of shame was RE7, which I started for like an hour and I moved on to something else, unfortunately. But this year it's Persona 5 again, because this was my biggest backlog pile of shame of 2017.
It's going to be the biggest pile of shame like in the decade, I'm telling you. Like over the past sort of like over the generation at least. Like it's got to be.
Yeah, it's
the gaming unicorn, which no one can catch.
I mentioned it on the podcast. Like I purchased this game like 6 months before it came out in the States, since I live in Japan. And I played like 3 hours of it, and it was great. It was great. And I stopped playing it, and I've never gone back. And then everyone finally got it in the States 6 months later, and everyone but me has beaten it. And I've just never gone back. But there's one reason why I've never taken another crack at it. Not just because it's probably a 100-hour plus RPG. The other part is once they released the teasers for Persona 5 Royale, which is basically like Persona 4 Golden, essentially, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just buy the game again and play that version instead. So I had been waiting for that.
So you sank $60 into it twice.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that is true. So yeah,
$120 game. Hope it's worth it. I mean, you'll get your time out of it. That's for sure.
Fucking hell, yeah! I get 2 games out of it. I might as well have paid $120 for it. So Vin, how about you? What's your biggest backlog of shame?
Yeah, I mean, in 2018, it's no surprise, Persona 5 was also my backlog of shame.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I played Persona 4 Golden for the first time in 2017, 2018. I think it was 2017. And I sunk like 120 hours in that game, and I fell in love with it. Like, I'd never really been interested in the series before that, but yeah, totally smitten by the series and sort of like it really sinks your claws into you. I don't know how it does it, but it's like such a ridiculous sort of premise behind the games, and it shouldn't be fun, but it is. And I can't. There's no other way of really describing it.
Oh, once you get into the rhythm of like school life and then like planning to lead up to like a dungeon crawl.
But listen to yourself right now. Like, as soon as you get used to the school life, like, how many people are listening to this that are just like, yeah, no, I'm never playing that game.
Yeah.
But like, if you actually play it, like, it's actually really fun. It sounds completely ridiculous, but like the characters are always endearing. So Persona 5 was always on my list, and I never got around to it in 2018. But for a change of pace, my 2019 game is actually quite different, because I still haven't played Persona 5, and that is my pick for 2019 as well. I still need to play this game. We both need to play this game. Persona 5 is still my backlog of shame.
This is actually not coordinated. When Vin put this on the list, I started laughing. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You too? This game won't go away. Vin.
But the exact same thing happened with me. The exact same thing. Like, I almost sat down. I played about 4 hours of it last year. And then it was about a week later, the trailer came out for Persona 4 Royal, whatever the fuck. It's got like ridiculous titles that Japanese people come up with.
Yeah, it's Persona 5 the Royale or the Royal or whatever it is. Yeah,
yeah, whatever. So then that got announced, and I was like, well, shit. Like, am I gonna like play through this game twice? Probably not. Not within this decade, I guess. Like, I'm probably gonna like play through it a second time in like 10 years or something, but not right now.
Introducing Chie DLC. Like, all right, here's my money. Take it. I'm just kidding.
Take it. Yeah, I mean, Chie for life. You know, like she's the real waifu. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The waifu was. I was reading about that.
I got my tattoo written backwards so that when I look in the mirror, it says Chie for life. You know what I'm saying? It's like an ambulance.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You'll need an ambulance, I guess.
When I get hit by a car.
Anyway, yeah, that joke's gone on far too long. But yeah, I think Persona 5 is like the golden union. I just might never play it. You know, it might always be the game that you look at in the distance and you think one day.
And then we'll make a new category of game that's been nominated for a single category for 5 consecutive years is
most nominated game.
Yeah. It'll never go away.
5. But yeah, moving on, we've got a game we didn't get to, or one that was overrated, I guess.
Games we didn't get, just like
games we didn't get.
I don't get it.
See, I just didn't get that nomination title whatsoever.
Oh my God.
But yeah, games you didn't get, or you thought that were overrated. What was your pick for 2018?
2018 was Titanfall 2. I still don't get that game. I think the single player is serviceable. But there are still people on podcasts, even that I've listened to like weeks ago, that every time they whisper Titanfall 2, oh my God, best single player campaign of all time. Oh, so good. Holy shit. Like, I swear they have to finish that sentence by saying something about that game. I just don't get it. So for 2019, it's Sonic Mania. which I played last year for the first time, and
Huh.
I don't get it. It's
Fair
not
enough.
that good. It's fucking frustrating. You go fast until the game doesn't let you go fast, and you come to a complete fucking stop or run right into a
You
bad
know what?
guy, and then you have to fumble with trying to play the game like it's a Mario platformer, and Sonic fucking sucks when he's not going fast, which is most of the time.
This is super, like, I would expect nothing less considering like what consoles you grew up with, I guess. Like this is like old school console wars shit coming
Oh
up right
yeah.
now in 29. It's
Hey,
hilarious.
by the
It's,
way, you don't get to trash Bonk simply because I trash Sonic. You got to be please be unbiased and please be fair with your evaluation of the first two Bonk games.
hey man, I will buy a TurboGrafx 16 mini. I will play these games
Well, I
if I can
appreciate it.
get through them, and
Oh,
I will give you my honest review.
already. Oh, did you hear that in your voice? You hear that? I'm pretty sure that everyone else heard it.
Deep cuts.
The games look great, sound great.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, those fucking worlds, you go into the giant spinning rings, and it's like you're on this giant orb, and you can't run into like the red orbs.
Right.
Fucking suck. They're like the worst side levels I've ever fucking played.
My wife loves them things. Like, I
Oh,
always pass the controls to her.
well, like I don't know if it's based on time or how many blue orbs you collect, but it gets quicker. It just gets to the point where
Mm-hmm.
like you're going to run into a red orb or bounce off something, or you're just not going to be able to find the final blue one. It's like the worst fucking side levels I've ever played in my life. I've never walked away from any of those levels happy. It's like who thought of this? What were they thinking? I don't know, man. Like fucking Sonic, like his old school character design is cool, and like the world and Dr. Robotnik and all that, but like the gameplay just kind of falls apart when he's not going fast, and you're just like slowly jumping across these things. You're constantly missing it because like the momentum and the physics just aren't right because you're so used to trying to go fast, or you're underwater and you have like your anxiety levels are like hitting red because you're trying to search for a bubble. I'm like, are these games good? If you didn't play these games in the 90s, like I don't see any way you can
I
fucking
absolutely agree. I mean, it's one of them things. You hit the nail on the head. Like it's nostalgia fuel. That's all it is. Like if Bonk 2020 came out next year, you'd be like, yeah, best game of the year, sort of thing, and you'd love it, and
Vin,
rightfully so.
Bonk 2020 already came this year. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway, like the fact that you're getting so worked up about this makes me so happy. Like it's genuinely like, yeah, it's a good thing.
As long
It's
as my salty tears give you sustenance,
indeed,
makes
and
me
I can't
happy.
wait to return them when Bonk's Revenge, quote unquote, comes out.
Oh, the real Bonk's Revenge. Well, we only have to wait 2 months, so we can take it easy. How about you? Games you didn't get or think were overrated?
All right, in 2018, I got Monster Hunter, which it's everyone loves it. Everyone thinks it's the greatest game in human history, and sort of like in the same vein of that, I had a similar issue with my with a game that I played in 2019. Everyone was talking gangbusters about this thing and thought it was God's gift to the earth, and it was the best thing since sliced bread, and they're going to kick Bethesda off their pedestal. But this year, I picked up The Outer Worlds, and I did not enjoy this game whatsoever.
I'm
I just could not.
surprised to hear this. How did you feel about like New Vegas per se?
Love New Vegas. I just The Outer Worlds it's basically Fallout. Like
Right.
if there's no way to dance around this. It's a Fallout clone, and it's not the greatest clone, I guess. I think it kind of feels like everyone played this game wanting to play a Fallout game, and I think Fallout 76 did so bad that they thought this was how it should have been, sort of thing. But I just don't think this game has even half the soul of a Fallout game. I really don't. I mean, the worlds are very inventive, and like the characters are interesting, like the ones that you run into, like the companions, which have interesting little side stories, and they've got a lot of personalities, and they sort of interact with each other. All that is great. Like that's really cool. The game is very well polished. There's almost no bugs, which it does have on a Bethesda game. I'll give them credit for that. But past that, it's just the game is very, very soulless. Like there's no it doesn't really do anything different, and it doesn't do anything new. There's only like 3 enemies per like world that you go to, and the worlds are kind of generic, like in terms of design. They're just it's Fallout, man. It's completely Fallout, but Fallout has a lot of things which the Outer Worlds doesn't. It has some like satirical charm to it, which Fallout has as well, which is like sort of social commentaries on our real world, and it's like a lot of allegories and stuff like that. But interwoven in all of that is like the comedic aspect of that, which Fallout has, which the Outer World just sort of does not land on whatsoever. It like the just, I don't know. Like my wife turned around to me and said, maybe it's the fact that you haven't got music playing all the time, and it's just not as enjoyable to like just wander around and stuff, and you just like this crazy sort of 20s music, and you're just shooting away and reloading and killing you massive cockroaches. Like it doesn't have that vibe to it. You just
Right.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't really describe it or encapsulate like how I feel about it, but I'm sure there's other people out there that can sort of see what I'm getting at. But it just does not have the same. I just don't think this is half the game of what a Fallout game is. Like if you played Fallout 4 or Fallout 3, um, right after this, you're probably like, oh yeah, like the Outer Worlds doesn't even have half of the stuff which Fallout has, and it's good. Like it feels it's a space western. It's got that sort of the same gameplay loop. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's not, but it's nothing to write home about. Like it really does nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing new or different. It just doesn't. It just did not connect or hit with me.
So you're saying it just kind of like kind of feels like a Fallout game, but it doesn't do enough new to keep you interested in the same way that those games did? Like the side quests aren't interesting. The gameplay,
I would say that's fair.
There's no twist on the gameplay or the shooting.
Yeah. I mean, it feels way too much like a Fallout game while having half of the soul and spirit of a Fallout game. Like it doesn't like that. Half the humor doesn't land, and when it does, it's kind of like, yeah, that was funny, but it's not like it's not on sort of like the meta level where like the whole world is like a commentary on itself. Like Fallout is just an enjoyable game from start to finish if you get into it, but the Outer Worlds it dips and wanes, and it's just not. I don't know. I just genuinely think that it doesn't even have half of the spirit. I think a lot of people came off the back of 76, and a lot of people have been trashing Bethesda this year, which I don't really buy into. Like they had one bad game, guys. Like you need to like calm down a little bit.
Oh yeah, like if you want to trash Fallout 76, that's fine.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't
trash.
I wouldn't trash Bethesda. Bethesda.
I mean, they're still doing like a load of cool other stuff. Like they've got a lot of other great games.
Hey, Doom, Dishonored, and Prey have all come out of that place, and I can't trash them for that. Yeah, they make good.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, Todd Howard failed in 2018." It's like, no, just like relax. Like this, it'll be fine. Like once they've got their next game out, everyone will forget about it. But yeah, I mean, just the Outer Worlds, it did not stick for me. And the fact that they got a Game of the Year nomination, I was really disappointed in that. I was like, really? It's not that great, and everyone's talking about it like it is. I don't know. It just kind of feels like everyone's praising this game on the back of 76 doing so badly. I think like that's the only way I can really describe it. But maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Maybe I just don't get it, sort of thing. Maybe it's just my weird sort of perception of what the game is or whatever. But I put a good 30 hours into it. I got to like the 5th world, and I started seeing the same sort of game architecture. It's the same sort of 10 buildings repeated. It's the same enemies. It's the same. It's just not a good game for me. I don't know. But yeah, that's the last thing I'll say about it, I guess.
All right.
Oh well, yeah. But yeah, on the back of games that we didn't get or we found overrated, biggest disappointment. Evan, what was your biggest disappointment of 2018?
2018 was Ni no Kuni 2. That is not a good JRPG. It looks amazing, but one of the reasons why it was so disappointing is because it doesn't touch or do anything better than Ni no Kuni, which I know I'm actually in the minority. So what is it? So maybe I'm the one that's fucked up or wrong, but I was super disappointed in that game, and But 2019 is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, Vin, I know you tapped out at Rise of the Tomb Raider because it kept telling you what to do all the time, and you got
I got that game. I don't know. I mean, no other game is guilty of this, where where they're constantly telling you what to do, but it was just how it was like constantly holding your hand. It wasn't so much that it was holding your hand, like paint a fucking ledge,
Yeah.
like give me a hint like in text in the corner that I can turn off, something like that. But the second that you walk into a room and Lara's like, oh, I need to climb up there and push that button, like, bitch, really? Do you have to say it every single time? And I just turned it off and I was done.
Well, Vin, you might be happy to know that the first time you learn the kind of like double step to jump to pickaxe an overhanging ledge, the exact same tutorial comes up the last time you do it, 30 hours later in the game. Which actually didn't bother me. I actually loved Rise of the Tomb Raider. For some reason, like, even though you talked about that, for some reason, like, that didn't bother me or I didn't notice. Like, I know she talks too much about,
I know
like,
it's
to nudge
completely
you.
subjective.
Right.
Completely subjective, like to me. And it's because I noticed it early on and because it was like eating away, and every time it happened, like I noticed it more and more. Like if you don't get that initial itch, then you'll never be bothered by it. So
Right.
it's to each their own.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's by far the worst of the series. Combat doesn't start till halfway through the game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the combat isn't even good. Like, it's more stealth based. There's not a lot of shooting in the game, which I liked a lot. Like in the first game, you like dropped into that kind of like corrugated shanty town, and you have to shoot your way out. Or like by the end of those first two games, just like shit hits the fan, and you're running and jumping around these kind of like semi open areas. Like hanging by this, or like getting through the problem by the skin of your teeth, and like ducking behind walls, and like zip lining and shooting and using your arsenal to like defeat all these enemies and stuff. And in this game, it's like more stealth, and they try to do the stupid thing where like, okay, here's a town, and then there's like 3 side quests you can do by speaking to people, and then you go off and do that. I'm like, no, this is not what Tomb Raider is. Like
that is weird.
The Lost Legacy did a great job with that, with like keeping a single chapter, that India chapter, into like a semi open world area, and then going back into a linear path. And it's like Shadow of the Tomb Raider tried to do that in spotty parts. And just like aside from that, just that there's no like kind of down, like getting like into the shooting. Like there's no set piece moments with shooting mixed with stealth. So like, okay, try stealth as long as you can, but when shit hits the fan, then you pull out your arsenal and you go to town in this kind of like open world, or not open world, but this area, and kind of like swing from vines and like hide behind this kind of cover and stuff. There's not really any of that. Every time I found myself hiding in bushes, and then the AI was terrible, so like a guy would come up and I'd stealth him, and then his head would be sticking out from behind the cover, so the next guy would notice him and come up to check, and I'd stealth him, and then they'd all just keep coming, and I just have this giant pile of bodies right next to me, and I didn't even have to move. And then you like go out of cover and you're just walking around, and there's all these like explodable pots and all these like interesting kind of like verticality to the level, and I used none of it because the AI wasn't smart enough for me to like. I cheesed it because it was possible, type of thing.
Right.
And in the end, like the whole like eclipse thing like doesn't come together till the end. It's just not, it doesn't hold a candle to the first 2 games. I was just really, really disappointed with it, especially because I like the first 2 games. The tombs are good, not as memorable as the first 2 games, but I don't know where they go with this anymore, because by the 3rd game it all feels a bit stale. So we will see what they do with it, but they need to do something different, I will tell you that much.
Yeah, pretty much like everything that I've seen about the whole sort of Tomb Raider arc and the stories and stuff, everyone that I've spoken to is sort of agrees with me in a weird way. But like Tomb Raider 1, like the new Tomb Raiders, I guess, like Tomb Raider like 2013 or whenever the hell it came out, of this trilogy, I should say, that was like sort of the best one, and then it's just progressively gotten worse, even though it looks better and the mechanics should make it better, but it's just over time it's just not really, it's not done anything different enough to sort of elevate it to become like a household name again, I should say. But hopefully in the future they figure something out, I mean, because replaying Tomb Raider 1 like on the original PS1, it's like they could do something like that again. Like just give me a whole game filled with tombs. You know?
Well, yeah, that's almost one of those things like you talk about Breath of the Wild, where like they split up the dungeons, but then everyone just wanted regular dungeons. It's like make the centerpiece of your games the tombs. Like don't make them 5 minutes long. Like
Right.
make it longer. Uh, make the stuff in between that shorter, and make the tombs the most important part of it. And
Yeah, I
like
mean,
maybe that's where they have to go, because the kind of running around shooting Uncharted sections are just not as
that's the
fun.
thing. That's the thing. I was literally about to say that. Like the problem is with Tomb Raider is that it's trying to be Uncharted, and Uncharted is literally like a Tomb Raider clone. Like all it was originally, it's become its own
It was
thing
totally
now, I guess.
cyclical how they kind of copied stuff off each other.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think like Uncharted has actually done something different to the point that it's made itself stand out, whereas Tomb Raider just never got out of that. It's constantly like chasing its own tail, like literally in this case, I guess. But it hopefully they do something with it. I mean, I would really like to see like in the vein like you just mentioned, like with Lost Legacy, something where you're like a semi-open world like Tomb Raider game where you're actually in a tomb and you got to figure stuff out. You know, that would be cool to see. Like I'd be super interested in playing that sort of game. Not that I think it would sell very well, but I don't know.
Right.
I just don't know what else they could do with that series.
Yeah. But yeah. Then how about you? What was your biggest disappointment of 2019?
My biggest disappointment, my 18 pick was Red Dead Redemption 2. Like even in retrospect, like that game it doesn't sort of ferment very well in my head, I guess. Well, it is fermenting, I should say.
Vin, I went back to that game and I was like, I bought a new 4K HDR TV. I want to see how this game looks.
Yeah.
Started doing trying to tick off the legendary animal hunt. Went to a place and it's like I'm running around for like 10 minutes and then it's like too much activity in the area. Legendary animal won't spawn. I was like, fuck off, and I just deleted it again. I was like, that's right. That's why I did like a lot of this game is because of those types of things. So
yeah, I mean, life gets in the way of that game, and I don't mean like your life. I mean like Arthur Morgan's like ridiculous life of you've got to ride 50 minutes to the other side of the map just to like start this mission, which might not actually trigger because you got there at the wrong time of day or whatever, even though like you couldn't have predicted like what time you'd get there. It's stuff like that. It gets in the way of it.
Yeah, I remember I got to that house, but it was a nighttime mission, but by the time I got there it was the morning. So when I got onto the lawn and I like went up to the gardener, I got done for trespassing, and then when I tried to chase him down, he got hit by something, and then like the law started chasing me, and I tried to surrender, but I accidentally shot someone, and I went to jail. It's like that is this game in a fucking bubble.
I mean that the good thing about that though is, and we talked about this when the game came out, but inherently when you come out of that game, even though you might not really enjoy it, you've got about 20 stories you can talk to people about whenever you discuss that game, like
That
how
is
your
true.
horse has like murdered people and stuff, or like just ridiculous tangents that the game puts you on that you just can't predict because of like how great the systemic sort of systems work, but they work a little bit too well in that you can't ride through a town in case you nudge someone because they'll end up calling the cops. Cops come over and they start like, you killed a woman or whatever, and you're just like, what even happened?
Right. And you know what, like like maybe this is a plus and not a minus. Like I just remember one time I jumped out a window and landed, instead of on my horse, I landed on someone else's horse. And the hotel was right next to the sheriff's office, and I immediately got done for horse theft because there was a police officer standing outside. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But you're right, like that frustration does, like just the way that game is pieced together, it does offer those moments that more linear games just they don't have that flexibility. And this
Absolutely.
But anyways.
But yeah, my like going off 2018, my 2019 pick was Wolfenstein Youngblood.
This hurts me, Vin. This hurts me a lot.
Yeah, it was the biggest disappointment, man. It's just not a Wolfenstein game. It just doesn't. I mean, it's got some of the vibes. Like you can tell, some of the people probably worked on it, but they use this game as just a massive experiment, and they would just throw in so many different things, and it sort of makes it a new thing almost. And it's not really that enjoyable because they're trying out so much stuff. Some of it works, some of it like really doesn't whatsoever. Like the semi-open world nature of it, having enemies that can level and stuff, and they scale to your level, so if you headshot them, they don't die instantly.
I don't like any of those experimental things at all.
Weird. very weird. Like the Metroidvania of it, like works in some places, but not in others. Like where you can go into certain places, but it's not accessible yet because you haven't got the double jump. But on the flip side of that, like all the characters' sort of movement and how the characters move and feel and things like that. Game feels fantastic, like how it shoots, how the girls are, like so. Like you might not be into the cheese of the comedy between the two girls, like the twin sisters, but it really stuck with me. Like I actually found that quite amusing, and like how the high five and like yeah, dude, like it's all like
I'm fine with that.
It's like 1980s. It's very 80s sort of like synth wave music. It's all that stuff is cool, but bogging it down is just the core mechanics of stuff that they were just trying out, and they were trying it out for whatever they're making next. And you could tell that they're probably going to make a Wolfenstein game, and they're seeing what works, what doesn't work in Youngblood. So more power to them for trying stuff out. Like this is a really good way of doing it, but at full price, I couldn't recommend it. If it was on sale or something at like $20, like or $15 because it's only a $30 game, then pick it up. It's a good little experience, but there's a lot of frustrations in there which you have to sort of push through. But it was really, really disappointing for me because it was the first sort of bad Wolfenstein game that I played, and I was really expecting something to be a lot. I thought the quality was going to be a lot better, but it just didn't. It just didn't stick.
Yeah, my own, because I'm a massive fan of the newest Wolfenstein series. Like
Yeah.
I love it to death. Like Machine Games, they've made some beautiful games. I can't wait for 3. I know those games probably haven't sold as well as I think they should have for sure. But my hope is that like this is just and it is a side game, right? It's not Wolfenstein 3.
Yeah, it's a spin-off. Like it's got no number. It's kind of in the middle there. It's
So maybe they were smart to like make this game in the same engine and then just experiment with some stuff and see what sticks and what doesn't, and then move on to 3. Like that's my hope, is that, like you said, it's kind of more of like a side thing, which it is. They didn't number it, so yeah.
I mean, I've been seeing a lot of games do this recently. So like Uncharted's done this recently with Lost Legacy, with the whole open worldness, and they were experimenting with that, and there was a couple of mechanics in that game that were like, okay, let's try this out because we can. It's a mid game. It's, even though I wouldn't consider it, I think the sort of like the game length of Lost Legacy is like the perfect sort of thing for Uncharted. Like it doesn't bog itself down and it ends when it needs to, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Totally. But yeah, there was a lot of things which they tried in that game, and I think a lot more companies are going to be doing this going forward. And more power to them. I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. So moving on, we've got that was our biggest disappointments, unfortunately. But our biggest surprise coming off the back of that for you, Evan. What was your biggest surprise in 2018, and what is it for 2019?
2018 was that I actually like Bloodborne, and not only like it, I love that game. Loved it to death.
Oh, you're one of those dudes.
Oh yeah, you know me. Actually, I have like a save somewhere where I've collected 2 of the umbilical cords. I got 1 more to go to get the final ending. But so I'm not a Bloodborne purist. I actually have never got the final ending like someone like you, Vin.
I really regret getting the final ending because it confused me 20 times more. I really do. Like if I didn't get any of them things, like I'm not even going to try and explain what they are to viewers. Like if you haven't played Bloodborne, like just go play it. It's an amazing game.
If you have to ask, you don't want to know.
If you have to ask, then you don't want to know the answer. Yeah. But like I wish I didn't get any of them, just purely so the ending could have been like cut off, and I would have been like at least gratified in my confusion. Just like I don't really get it. Like, but it's okay. Like I can make up my own ending and move on. But like for the ending that I got, I was just like, what the fuck? Like I just don't even. And I had to like backtrack and watch like 5 videos on YouTube for them to like, slowly explain it to me, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't normal.
The money,
but the game is great to play. It's great.
The money that like the super Bloodborne history buffs has made off YouTube, because every single Bloodborne player, after like about 4 months, forgets the entirety of what the hell all of it means, has to go back and check. I swear, like every Bloodborne fan has watched all of those videos at least 10 times by now, if not more.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, you've got to.
Dude, it's like that in Kingdom Hearts. I forget what the fuck both of those things are about, and I have to like watch a video series reminding myself of what they are, only to forget it, a couple months afterwards. But
Indeed.
for 2019, my biggest surprise was Mad Max.
What the open
The
world game?
the open world Mad Max game that no one played and was like totally forgettable. I fucking loved it. I thought
Everyone keeps talking about this game. Like
I loved
it's
it. It's
awesome,
so
but no
fun.
one spoke about it when it came out.
It's so fun, and I swear, like, you know, like you have your different regions, and it's like, okay, it does kind of the Breath of Wild thing where like instead of like a tower you climb, you get into like an air balloon. What the fuck am I talking about? What do they call those things? An air balloon?
A hot air balloon.
A hot air balloon. Sorry, I missed one word. You get in a hot air balloon, and then you have to look through your binoculars, and once uh, you can like tag things around you, and then they show up on your map. So similar to Breath of the Wild in that sense, but it's got your kind of like take over your camp type of stuff. But one of the cool things it has, and it's just trying to do like the Mad Max thing of like it's not a race, but it's just like a bunch of vehicles going in a line, smashing into
Convoy.
a convoy smashing into each other. And so basically in each region that you unlock, similar kind of like the Ubisoft kind of open world thing where like
Right.
each region you unlock, you unlock specific types of side quests and camps you can take over and all that type of thing. And in each region there's a caravan route, where it's just like there's a main caravan followed by like all these types of like there's like armored vehicles, and there's vehicles that have like flamethrowers and like vehicles that have bombs and all these types of things. And obviously the further you get in the game, the longer the caravans are, and that like the higher level armor that like the vehicles immediately surrounding the main boss's caravan are. So it just takes longer. It is the closest you're going to get to playing a game that is like watching Fury Road. And it
Right.
just gets to a point where like you've upgraded your car with like spinning like metal coming out of your wheels, and flamethrowers and harpoons and like ultimate armor, and you're just like whipping through these caravans, and you're shooting harpoons and like making like the kind of like crony vehicles flip in the air, and you're smashing into them and watching them fly off the sides of cliffs. And then when you beat the caravan, then you can kind of like lock down the area. It's just fun. Like the story is whatever. You're Max, you have this friend who kind of goes on the back of your vehicle, and you just tick the boxes in each of the regions. It's very open world, samey in that type of sense. But once you get over that initial hump, like Far Cry Primal, of like kind of figuring out, okay, I'm not as weak as I started with. I'm starting to get a bit of armor. I got a couple weapons. You start knocking out those regions and those fucking convoys. It's so fun. Like, I don't know. I fell into that game loop, and I liked it probably more than I should have.
Yeah, man. On the back of you saying all that, you should. I recommend it even more now, but you should go and play Rage 2. It's very much the same sort of vibe. It's basically.
I might be an easy target for these types of games, like whether or not they're good.
No. I mean, it's like Rage 2 is a very average game, I guess, but it's basically. You can tell in that meeting when they first started making this game, they're like, "All right, we want to make Doom meets Mad Max and just bang them together. That's what we want to make." And they essentially did that with Rage 2. So yeah, recommend it even more now. You should go and pick that up straight away.
It's definitely on the list for a sale pickup in 2020. Vin,
Absolutely.
how about yourself? Biggest surprise of 2018 and 2019?
My 2018 pick was the mini consoles. Like I was completely smitten by that movement, I guess.
Doesn't seem like it's slowing down. That's for sure.
No, it's really not. Jesus, I've got 4 under my TV at the moment. I've got the NES, I've got the SNES, I've got my Mega Drive Mini that just came out this year, and I got my PS1 Classic, and I'm sure it'll be joined by a TurboGrafx 16 at some point. Maybe it'll be shoved to the back. Maybe I just won't put it on in front of the TV.
If you don't buy one, I will buy one and ship it to you, whether you like it or not.
I'll buy it. It's just if it belongs in front of the TV is the real question.
Well, that will be determined in a future episode.
I'm joking. It will be there. I will play it. I promise. Along with there's so many other little consoles they could totally make. Like, God damn it, Nintendo, get on a N64 Classic. You could totally make it. You've got the hardware to do it. It's the exact like the chips inside the NES Classic and the SNES Classic both run N64 games flawlessly. And we know this because of hackers, and they figured this out. And it's like, yeah, they could totally run the games. We just haven't got enough buttons on the controllers.
Right.
So they could totally make it, and I'm pretty sure they're going to sort of counterattack the PS5 and the Xbox coming out this year. We'll see. I gotta hope I'm right. But yeah, fingers crossed. But my 2019 pick was Call of Duty.
The newest one, right? The one that came out.
The newest one.
Okay.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like I was not expecting this game to be this good. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
Are you more of a Battlefield person, at least in the past?
I am these days.
Okay.
Yeah, I am these days. Like I've flip flopped over the years. I was a Call of Duty fan, and then I switched over to Battlefield, and Battlefield 3, I think that was the one that turned me. But then I picked up a Call of Duty Modern Warfare this year just to try it out. I thought I haven't played a COD in a few years. Might be worth it. This one looks a lot more grounded. It looks like they've redone the engine. Christ, I have not had this much fun in a campaign in a while.
Cool.
Well, not really fun. That's a bad word to use.
It's supposed to make you feel the kind of like the horrors of war and that type of thing, right?
Exactly, and it's very, very, very grounded. It sort of takes the standpoint at times to like the Middle Eastern side of it, like a new players, Middle Eastern people like going. I say quote unquote Middle Eastern because the game is set in a not a real country, I guess. Like I can't actually remember what the name of the country that you play in is called, but you jump between several different characters. Like an embassy gets taken over at one point. You play as like a Middle Eastern child when you're getting attacked by these Western powers and stuff, and like your house is buried and you're buried in like the rubbly house, and you're pulled out and stuff. Like just horrors of war, which we sort of become like used to on TV screens, but they sort of put it front and center, which is really interesting. And it was a really refreshing sort of campaign, and I haven't seen anything like that in a Call of Duty in quite a while. Not since the original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which had like the nuke hit and like you're crawling out of it and you end up dying in the nuke. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But that's like I haven't had an impact in a game like that in a while, or a game hasn't had an impact on me like that in a while, I should say. But yeah, I just really, really enjoyed like the intimacy of the campaign. But outside of like the Middle Eastern side of it, when you play as Westerners as well, there's just a different vibe about some of the levels. Like you play like bunker style raids where like you cut all the lights out and you're going through with your night vision goggles, and there's a few like promotional videos and stuff of this one level where you're going through in a London sort of townhouse, and you're just basically making your way up to the top of the building, and you're just clearing room by room. Sounds like pretty standard, but the actual doing of it it's really, really intense. And in sort of night vision mode, this game looks almost photorealistic. Like I know that statement is going to age horribly.
I've heard this
really
game looks really good.
It does.
One thing I've heard about it.
It's a new engine. Feels very cool. The multiplayers, yeah, it's COD, same deal. But there's just nice little touches that we got in the game. But I was really, really surprised how much I enjoyed this game. Like I was not expecting it. I thought I was just going to go in and waste a weekend sort of thing. Ended up playing through the campaign twice in 2 different difficulties. I really, really enjoyed it. I'd say it's probably one of the best Call of Duties I've played in the last 10 years, which is saying something.
That's cool. I have one question, Vin. Is Captain Cigar Mustache in it?
Captain Price is back, and he's back
that's
with all the glory of his London accent. And the guy's a legend. I love Captain Price, and you know there's a good reason why they brought him back. He's sort of fleshed out a bit more in this one. Like you can see a bit of his history and things like that. And
okay, that's cool.
It's really cool. He's not just like a caricature in this one. Like he's got a tiny bit more depth to him. I think they're going to explore it a lot more in the next one because I think they're going to go forward with this timeline. I hope they do because this style of game. It's just so different, like and how they've like I'm not going to bang on about the game too much, but how they've sort of paced out the game as well is it's almost flawless because like you finish a level, and when a level ends, like it automatically goes into a cutscene, but in the back of the cutscene, the next level is loading, so it just never stops, and you can play that game for 5 hours and you wouldn't even know like how much time has gone by just because you're just in the moment and stuff is just constantly happening. It's very much a AAA game of its time, and it's very well done, and there's a reason why it sells so much. But I was just super surprised by the COD campaign specifically this year, like over the multiplayer. But yeah, I'd urge you to check it out. I wouldn't buy it full price. Like if you're just going to play the campaign, like don't buy this game for full price unless you're really into multiplayer and you're going to get it anyway.
Right.
But for the campaign alone, I was really happy with it. I thought it was a great little game. But yeah, go check that one out.
All right.
But sort of on the back of that, what is the worst game that we've played? Oof, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I had a lot more to say on this game, but I might leave it for a separate episode. I don't really know what to do with this because we've been running pretty long. But first, 2018 was Mass Effect Andromeda. Did an entire like hour 45-minute episode of Podcast Reload with Burkhoff and McWomble on that. Just look up Podcast Reload, episode 50 something. It's all about Mass Effect Andromeda. What my 2018 game or 2019 game is Detroit Become Human, which I just
Yeah.
finished about a week or two ago. Man, there's so much to say about this game, and there's just no time. So
There's so much to say, but yet so little.
so little. This game is entirely at odds with itself because it tries so hard to be a film and to be a game, and it succeeds at neither at the same time because the story is bad and the writing is bad and the gameplay is so lackluster and non-existent that it might as well not be a game at all. And it's just, and that's why I say it's at odds with itself. It's
Yeah.
so Vin, you've played this game at least a couple hours of it.
Yeah, I played most of it, I guess. Like I
Most
was
of it,
getting
okay.
towards the end, and I still fell off the wagon. I was like, yeah, I can't be bothered like sitting. I can't be bothered like pressing X to like walk over to the room to push a wheelchair again. It's like
Yeah,
it's getting old.
it gets to these little things where like there's a cutscene and then you're sitting in like the main area of a house and it's like, oh, this is gameplay, and you walk up to the wheelchair and it's like press up to hold, and then you have to wheel it into the next room, and then a cutscene plays. It's like, well, what was the point of me interacting
Right.
with it? Why didn't the cutscene start from when
I
we open the
get
door and get to the part? Because it gets to the point where like he's trying to make a film, but then they realize like, oh, well, we have to put something here because this isn't actually a game.
no,
It's
yeah. This is the thing. Like I was speaking to someone about this because this, like, spoiler alert, like this is also my probably worst game of the year as well. Um, but I was speaking to someone about this, and they were just like shaking their head at me the whole time. They're like, if someone just gave David Cage a contract to work on like an interactive Netflix show, he would be a billionaire. And I was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. And if you did something like, like where you push, like, oh, do you want to go through the door or not go through the door, sort of thing, and you go, okay, go through the door, and then you watch like 5 minutes of the show. Like if he did something like that, he would be able to make so many good things. But the fact that he's just making video games, it sort of holds him back almost. And it's just that arbitrary sort of bullshit where you're like trying to just get from one side of the room to the other, and you just like there's no like intuitive way of doing it. Like it stops becoming a video game and more becomes like this weird experience that you're sort of having, and it's not really either a video game or a movie, and it's just like this weird in between that you're sort of stuck in.
Yeah, and one good kind of way or at least kind of bring this to light is I got a trophy at the end of my first playthrough for never losing a QuickTime event. However, I got all three of probably like the worst endings that you could probably get in the game. So the idea of like I succeeded at all the QuickTime events, and yet my choices brought me to the worst endings. So it's like, well, if that's the case, what is the point of the QuickTime events then? It's
Yeah.
like it's the semblance of choice in like David Cage is like, oh well, if you don't do this, that character will die, which can happen quite early, and they just don't exist for the rest of the game. But it's like,
Hmm.
is that the story you want to tell? You want to cut them out, or do you want to bring this ruse to your audience like, well, this could possibly happen? And the worst thing is like this game is supposed to be about choice. It's supposed to be about a singular story where you're put in the shoes of specific characters and you're making like dialogue based choices. And then it gets to a section where you're running across a busy highway, and if you don't press buttons quickly enough, sorry, your your character can die and they just don't show up at all. It's like you can't
Right.
eat your cake, you can't have your cake and eat it too, or like you're having quick time events and trying to be cinematic to where the camera will like spin and like the button icon will be like trying to be cinematic as well. So it's not like God of War where it's like boom right on the screen. It's like slightly angled to try to fit into the scene. So you're like, what am I supposed to? Oh, I failed that. Or it's like an analog push that looks like it's not accurate. And it's like, well, you got to pick. You got to pick one or the other. And Vin, what I think this game should have been at the start is cut Kara, cut Marcus. It should have been a game about the relationship between the android sent by the company to investigate deviant androids, the android by the name of Connor, and his relationship with the human Hank, the other detective. It should be a specific game about that. The type of gameplay that is in this game, and this is one reason why I love The Wolf Among Us, is where you go into a crime scene and you are slowly walking around an area and looking for clues and being methodical and slow and analyzing specific situations, and then taking the information that you've gathered from being slow and methodical in a crime scene and using that to make dialogue choices when you're interrogating people that you've caught or interrogating suspects or people on the streets. And then that's where your choices branch out. And then not only that, but you're layering on top the relationship between Connor being an android and Hank being a red-blooded human detective, and how that relationship works through this mystery of the deviants. And that should have been the story. That would have been great.
It did, like, I agree completely. Like, the game doesn't really have a spine of like a single thread of a story that you're like constantly going back to, sort of thing. Like, they sort of split the three. Is it three? I think it's Marcus, Kara, and Connor, right?
Connor, yeah.
Yeah, so there's the three androids, and you're constantly jumping between all three of them equally, and there's not one of them that's really driving the story at any one point, which is a shame, because if they just had like one thing that's driving through, and I think that's why Heavy Rain was so successful, is because the father, like the main character of Heavy Rain, like he is constantly driving the story of him trying to find his son, and there's other people sort of interacting with that all the way through the game. It's not just like these separate sort of timelines going on. I think it works successfully in Heavy Rain, mostly because Heavy Rain came out also in like 2011, 2010, or whenever it came out.
Oh, it was totally novel at the time. Doing all that stuff.
And it was completely different. But in 2019, I'm not too sure, or 2018, whenever this freaking game even came out.
I believe it's 2018.
Yeah, it was like December 2018 or something, right? But I don't know. It just feels like an old game, and it doesn't really succeed in all of its points that it's trying to hit. And the allegory sort of sticks a bit too hard for me. Like, I don't like it when they try and be too obvious about that shit. You know, it's like, it's obviously a commentary on our modern day society to do with racism and how we treat people that are different to us.
Wait, are you talking about the point where like Marcus gets on the back of the bus with all the other androids in chapter 2 at the very beginning of the game, or they're marching through the streets and there's a button prompt for you to choose, "We have a dream"? It's like, oh my, like,
it's
steer clear away from that shit. You are not equipped as a writer to handle that at all, Cage. You are not equipped. Do not.
I completely agree. I mean, and I know that's hard for us to say. Well, I mean, it's not really for you, actually, because you live in a society where you are different from everyone else. But I mean, like, I know it seems dumb from like a couple of white guys on a podcast talking about that sort of stuff, like, "Oh, you don't understand," or whatever. You know, like, I fully understand it. Like, we've both lived in societies where we are the minority, like 1% of the minority, and we've witnessed racism firsthand. Like, we understand it to an extent, obviously not compared to other people,
to a very minuscule extent, but I guess a little bit.
But what this game tries to do, it doesn't only just, it's not commentating on it, it's like it grabs the back of your head and it's like throwing you in the mud, and it's like rubbing your face in it the whole time, to the point that it's like you're not helping anybody, you're not changing anybody's mind, you're making this, you're taking it too far, to the point that it's just like, I'm not really looking at this as a standalone game. I'm not feeling anything for these androids. I look at the allegory, like I'm looking at the metadata of that and just looking at it and thinking, you're trying way too hard with this, and it sort of kills it. Like, if you made this game a lot more intimate, and then like one of the moments like was sort of, it was like a lot more intimate of a moment, then it would probably have hit the allegory 10 times harder. Because it would have been like, oh shit, yeah, I've been in that situation.
the message straight into the player's face. Like, you focus on Connor and Hank. There's the
Right.
dynamic there. Like, Hank hates androids,
Exactly.
and um, there's an android sent by the company that makes the androids to hunt other androids. There are so many layers to that
Hmm.
story that moves forward between Connor thinking about like what does it say about him that he's an android hunting other androids, and then what does it
Yeah.
say about his relationship between him being an android and Hank, and but they're partners and moving like that should have been the story. Like that, there's enough there to get the
Yeah.
point across about all the things Cage was trying to, but just like keep it smaller.
Yeah.
It could have expanded it. Like it's like he can't trust himself or like his audience to get like the overlying kind of like allegorical stuff, or like it's the parallels to actual real-time struggles with civil rights and stuff like that, that he has to push it in your face because he's not confident in his writing, that we can't like get that from
Yeah.
like a more
I mean, there was
subtle
just
take.
like all the writing of it. It could have been done so like you could have been so much more tactful with it and a lot more successful with the beats that you're trying to hit,
Yeah.
and made way more of an impact with that allegory than the route that he actually did go, where he just like he's constantly shoving it in people's faces to the point that it's like it's literally one-to-one comparisons about the civil rights movement and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, like there's so many better ways you could have done this, or so many more impactful, meaningful ways that you could have done this, where it would have made a difference, like in terms of the game industry, and you probably would have had something on your hands which would have been a good, sort of allegory for life, and a good commentary on what sort of is real in the world right now. But he just chose to go way too obvious with it, and it's sort of, I don't know, I think he sort of damages like what he was trying to do, like more than anything else. And it's
Yeah.
it's it's a shame because it could have been a good thing.
I'll end it on a positive note, I guess. Game looks great. Game looks
Oh
great.
yeah, photorealistic almost at times, like
Like
stunning.
I like Connor, like as playing as the fucking detective android Connor. Like I like that guy, and it just sucked that it was surrounded by all this fucking bullshit. But you want to know the saddest part about all of this, Finn, is that I got
What's
the
up?
platinum trophy in the game.
uh
I know. I hate myself, but
it's okay, I hate you too, so that's, it's, we're on the same page at least.
all right. How about yourself? What's the worst thing that you've played?
It was Detroit Become Human. Also, that's pretty much why I
Oh, great.
jumped in on the conversation. Yeah, it was probably one of the worst things I played, just purely because it was, I don't know, all that stuff just really got to me. Like it was the allegory that really got to me the most, and not because like I don't want people to take this the wrong way, like at all. It's not like I'm glad that the allegory was there, but how they handled the allegory, like they could have made it way more impactful with a more subtle, tactful sort of sense of right into it. But instead, the route that they went just made me just be like, it's, I could go and read a history book and get the same thing, like because some of the one-to-one comparisons to actual life that's happened, it's, I don't know, it was just very weird, and
It's
just
lazy.
not.
It's
It
lazy
is
writing.
lazy. That's the only way I can really describe it. It's very, very lazy. And considering like how much experience Cage has got with these sort of games, you would have thought that he would have figured it out by now. But he's still like pushing that cart up the hill, and it's still not getting any further.
Vin, I'm telling you, like these types of point and click, modern point and click games work best when it's like a detective thing. Like the one of the
I
coolest
agree.
parts in Heavy Rain is when you're the private eye and you're going through that guy's like shop, and then you get
Yeah.
the phone call that the cops are coming,
Hmm.
and then you have to think about like, and it's like, well, oh shit, I have to get out of here, but I have to like wipe my prints off the stuff that I touched, and what you touched depends on what you interacted with up until that phone call, and so you have to like try to remember in real time because it's you have to get out of there in like a minute, like what
Yeah,
things you
because you would.
touched.
That's real.
Yeah, it's like that's when that type of type of like kind of limited uh kind of movement and mechanics work when it's slow and methodical like that. And like the, when you're the actual detective in Heavy Rain with his
Hmm.
like kind of like high-tech gear kind of analyzing the situation. That's why The Wolf Among Us is my favorite Telltale game, because it's like you're walking around, you're interviewing people, you're making decisions based on the evidence you kind of absorbed and got from the crime scene. You're asking them questions, and what eventually happens in the game depends on what information you get from a suspect or someone that saw something based on the things that you ask them. And so like it like those types of connections, and how that's how these games should work. And that's why I just think if he wants to make this game again, like, make it a fucking detective game. It would definitely hand itself to that type of uh kind of story and system.
Yeah, that's if Sony give him money again. Christ. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Alright.
I'd like, if a new game got announced by him, I'd be a lot more skeptical at this point. Like, I was all in about Detroit Become Human because I was a fan of Heavy Rain, and even Beyond Two Souls. Like, I had some fun with that game, but like this one was just something different, and I'd probably take a step back and watch a couple of reviews before I bought his next game. But we'll see.
Definitely.
Hopefully, he learns from it. But yeah, moving now on to the main event, which is going to be our Game of the Year discussions, obviously our top fives. So we're going to take this in turn and just crack right into it, I guess. So, best games of 2019. Evan, kick us off. What is your first pick for your best game?
Number 5 is Dishonored 2, which should probably be higher on the list, but then I committed the cardinal sin of looking up the platinum trophy walkthrough before I started the game. Now, the platinum trophy walkthrough that I checked was like recommended play through the game, no powers, because there's a point in Dishonored 2 at the beginning where you can choose to have powers or no powers. Obviously, to get the platinum trophy, you need to do at least 2 playthroughs, one with powers, one without. Dishonored is not a series that you want to jump into on the first playthrough playing without powers, because that entire game hangs on the fucking powers. They're like the coolest thing about those games.
Yeah.
And I played through the entire game without the powers, and I got those trophies for that, but I missed out on experiencing each of the levels and the level design for the first time with all the cool fucking Dishonored powers like Blink. So like I didn't have any of that stuff. I couldn't jump to like ledges and then jump down and assassinate guys because I had nothing. All I did was have my gun and my knife. And halfway through the game, like, I realized I had made like a horrible decision.
Yeah.
But it
new
was
game resolution for Evan Piotrowski is to not look up platinum trophy lists before completing the game for the first time.
Which I never do. I always, like, if I'm having fun with a game and it's like, let's check that trophy list. I'm like, okay, this looks like I could kind of clean this up. I'll do it later. That's what I did for Detroit Become Human. Unfortunately, I played the game like 10 hours more than I should have. But
yeah,
this game should be higher, but I played it the wrong way. I played it the wrong way, and it should be higher. It is a great game. It's got some really notable levels. Not exactly comparable to what was in Dishonored 1 with like the party where you go into the masked party where you're trying to figure out which um host you're supposed to kidnap.
Yeah,
based
I
on
remember
what
this.
based on what the kind of like the bougie clientele are saying, and then it gets into this like really creepy. You find out this guy wants to kidnap one of the women, but you have to identify her, but you have to do it in a subtle way. It's like it has 2 or 3 areas like that, but yeah, I played it totally the wrong way. This should definitely be higher on my list, but I can't because I did not play it the way it should have been played. So yeah,
almost ruined it for yourself.
Yeah, I'll never do that again. I'll never look at a trophy list first. It's just not the way you should play video games. It should not be like so robotic. No, I paid the price. I love Dishonored 1, and I paid the price with Dishonored 2. So, Vin, what's number 5 on your list?
Number 5 is a bit of a cheat. It's the Sega Mega Drive Mini, or the Sega Genesis Mini, whatever you want to call it. I think this counts. It's
Vin, that's like saying my number 5 is the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, all 40 games. No, I mean like just the whole sort of experience of having it and just playing through like old games. I'd say like number 5 on my list is the nostalgia feeling, I guess, that I get from them old games. Like
Sure.
playing through Golden Axe 1, playing through Sonic
Oh,
1 and 2 again.
oh, did you just say Golden Axe? I absolve you of your sins, son. Go in
Yeah,
peace to love and serve the Lord. You can
indeed.
say whatever you want. Yeah.
However, Golden Axe 1 is better than Golden Axe 2. Fight me.
I don't know where we go from here with this friendship.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a good little machine. I think like the UI is probably the worst out of all the classic consoles, but just the games themselves like really hold up. Like they're still fun. It's still like that whole, you know, Genesis does what Nintendo don't and stuff like that. Like it's got that vibe to it. You know, it's very balls to the wall. They don't really care. It's just everything's about being a cool teenager in the 90s.
That's
So
cool.
it's yeah, it's fun as hell. But yeah, I had a great time with it. It's been hacked recently, so I'm going to be able to put more games on it. Yeah, it's just a great little machine. It feels like the console, like the actual game pads and stuff. They're identical, are perfect, super responsive, really great. I urge everyone to pick one up. Like they're really great little systems. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's number 5 on my list. But how about you? What is your number 4?
My number
For
4
your game of
is
the year?
Doom. All caps, baby.
2016. Fair play.
File this under the why the hell did I wait so long to play this game?
What a game.
Oh man, it's so good. And I'm not like I didn't have a PC growing up. I played like Doom 2 at my friend's house on a
Missed that boat.
sleepover, missed it. Bought it, sat in it for like a year and a half, Vin, and then like because there was like Evan no 2019 purchases Piotrowski. I was like, I gotta dig into my backlog, and I'm so glad I did because this game it's so good, and it makes me so excited for Doom Eternal. Move fast, don't stop running, fucking smash enemies while you can to pick up like armor or ammo, and just like figure that level design out. They're gonna add fucking like not hook shots, or like I guess it would be hook shots to like add verticality to the level design in Doom Eternal. Extra enemy stuff, like a bit of like shooting specific areas of an enemy to like either give you armor or health. Like I'm so ready for Doom Eternal. But yeah, Doom 2016 is an amazing game. It's so good. Loved it. How about you? Number 4.
Yeah, number 4 for me is drum roll, please. Days Gone.
Ooh,
so Days Gone.
Is a game that's on my list. I do still.
Yeah, I mean, the longer that the longer I leave it, like the more like the better it gets in my head, sort of thing. I did enjoy it, but at the time, like I had a lot of grievances with it. Like I had a lot of balance issues. It had like the story was really hokey at times. But just how impressive like the horde system was and things like that. I mean, I spent like a good 15 minutes on this on an earlier episode, so go and check that out if you want to like have my actual thoughts on it. But yeah, it's a really great game. Like if it's on sale for like $30 or something, Christ, pick this game up. It's awesome, and they keep working on it as well. Like they keep adding stuff to it. Like there's a survival horde mode in the game now. There's other little mini games that they keep putting in. There's a load of new content that they're just continuously adding to it. Like I follow the creative director on Twitter, and he's a really like fun guy. It seems like he seems to like constantly want to be working on it. He's really passionate about it. So yeah, definitely worth the time and money that you put into it. I recommend it.
Well, if my love for Mad Max has anything to say about my tastes, this kind of seems like a game that I'll probably have I mean, if you playing with the general game loop,
Yeah, if you can get past like the problems which it has, like quote unquote problems, the very like surface level issues, I guess. You get past that, like it's an enjoyable game. Like I can see where it was trying to get to, and it's like I was saying at the time when I first played it. I really, really hope that Sony give them the green light to make the next thing because they've got so much potential as a studio, so much. And the fact that like this was their first real stab at a AAA game since like the Siphon Filter days, like I'm blown away with how well they did. So hopefully they get to the next level in the next game and knock it out of the park because It's a really great little game.
I should. I went to the store the other day. Used in Japan. This game is like $20.
Pick
So
it up. Yeah,
yeah,
pick
I
it up for
should.
that.
I definitely should.
I mean,
I
I
will.
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone to spend $60 on it. But if you see like even a $10 sale on it, if you get it at $20-$30, like you will not be disappointed by it. I think it's a solid little experience.
Cool. All right, what is this? My number 3.
Yep, number 3.
My number 3 is Hyperlight Drifter.
Drifter.
This is also filed under the why the hell did I don't know why I was gonna say fuck and I changed it to hell, but whatever.
Well, because we don't swear on this podcast.
Yeah, never ever.
Nope.
Why the hell did I not play this game sooner? And I remember, I believe the main, I don't know his title, but like the head designer, the concept or whatever, Alex Preston, maybe.
Alex Preston. Yep.
I followed him on Twitter like the second I saw like the Kickstarter for this game in whatever year that was, and then just like when it came out, I just didn't pick it up. And then like yeah, whatever, I got my head out of my ass and I found a fucking physical copy in Japan of all places.
Oh man, I
And
still want to get one of those.
man, every time I go to the store, I look for one because I remember you told me if you ever see one, pick it up for me, and I will send it
Oh,
to
yeah.
you if I find one.
Oh, yeah, I would appreciate it. Yeah.
I will. I always check. I always check.
Thank you.
Oh, dude, it's one of the. It's great. This game is amazing. Like and it mostly has to do with like not only does it look absolutely amazing, the color scheme they use, like the turquoise kind of pink stuff going on, just the general like the animations of the main character, the controls.
Oh, how it feels is just next level.
Much
right?
like Super Meat Boy, like
Yep.
that type of game hangs on how that game controls, and this game is perfect. And it's hard,
yeah.
but it's deliberate, it's accurate, and the controls are so tight that like when you get into a really difficult situation, like it's up to you to use those controls, and they work so well that like yeah, like you know dodge, swipe, dodge, move, use your gun, swipe out of the way, parry, block, move backwards, and kind of like learn each individual enemy's kind of attack patterns so that and then you get into a room where all of a sudden you're with like all 5 enemies that you've met over the course of an area, and now you've remembered all of their attack patterns and they're slightly different, and you have to kind of keep that in your head while remembering how to use all of your weaponry and your kind of like your movements and your parrying and your all that stuff together to make this just like beautiful kind of like action scene in a movie.
What they call like the combat dance, like once you get into the flow of that.
Thank you. Yeah, once you get into that flow. But the game slowly teaches in how really good games teach you these things. It teaches you these things little by little. And then once you get into a situation, it's like, all right, the doors are locked. Show me this is what we've taught you up to here. Show me what you can do, type of thing. And it's not. It's much like Super Meat Boy, where when you fail, you don't throw your controller because it's the fault of the game. You feel like it's your fault, and that is
This is my main point that I
walk.
always take away from this game.
Yeah.
Always take that away, is that like if you fail at the game, then it's always your fault. And I think it's because of what you said, like how tight the controls are and the combat dance that you get into such a flow that you never really get angry out of the game. Like the game is never bullshit. Like it doesn't throw any cheese at you and like, oh, we're gonna kill you on purpose here. It's like, no, if you die, then like you could potentially go through this whole game without dying once, but if you do die, then it's always your fault, which is great.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love how there's so many little secrets in this game. Like once you kind of get your like kind of shadow dash down, there's like kind of like little markers spread out across the entire map all over the place, where just these little areas that all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. And you hit something and then you kind of like do your shadow dash and then like the camera moves to a new area and you're like, oh, okay, you got to power up. It's great. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. And I still think about it to this day.
I played it.
It's great.
I played it again last year. I played it through on the Switch again.
Nice.
I played it on the PS4 originally. It's incredible game. Christ. The only bad thing, like everything is perfect on that game. The only bad thing that really sort of like drops it down to like not being one of the greatest games of all time is the story. But past that,
yeah,
past that, it's an amazing game. Everyone should play it. It's definitely one of the best games of this generation. Easy, like hands down, I would say.
Like I get it was a choice from the
Mhm.
from the group to like we're gonna tell a story without dialogue, but I just really think it takes away from what it could have been.
True.
Like
I
you're
mean,
just
there was
like,
only
yeah.
there was like 4 or 5 guys that worked on that game. You know, like
That's fucking that is wild to think about.
it is
Like
wild
holy
considering how
shit.
big it is, how great it is,
Like
how.
how tight the controls are. It plays
Mhm.
so well. It's so good. Please play Hyper Light Drifter. It is so good. Vin, what is your number 3?
Okay, my number 3 is Resident Evil 2.
I bought this. I bought a game in 2019. I just haven't played it. So Vin, how is Resident Evil 2 remake?
It's awesome. I mean, like when they first announced this, I was like, yeah. I mean, but you know, what are the chances they're going to do that any justice? You know, and
Do you
it's
remember when like it was announced and then like a year later, just everyone was like taking the piss, like, "Ha, it's going to be one of these games that never comes out, or when it comes out, it's not going to be as good as it's been hyped up to be,"
yeah,
and defied all of that. It just
knocked
knocked it
it
out of the
out.
park.
They completely knocked it out of the park. Like it's an amazing, amazing remake. I mean, I'm really glad that companies are starting to get their stride with these remakes. They're not just like throwing skins over them, but they are changing them just enough to be fresh and new, but still like nod back to the old stuff. Like, and I forgot like how short these games. I say games because there's 2 storylines in Resident Evil 2. I forgot how short they were. They're less than 5 hours long, sort of thing.
Hmm.
Which you would think for this sort of style of game in this day and age. I remember like the big outrage for the Order 1886, like the whole, that whole thing. Oh, it's only 6 hours long. Oh, I don't want to pay money for this. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, Resident Evil 2 is that, and then it gets nominated for Game of the Year. So it's sort of, like stop being hypocrites about that sort of stuff. Game
Right.
length is not a bad thing, especially if it's short, especially people with jobs and kids and lives. So, but wow, what a game. I mean, just in terms of how it plays, how it feels, how they managed to sort of patch the world together in a lot of ways where it was cut off sections in the PS1 version. And how that completely changes the dynamic of the game. And even simple things where you can just aim at someone's head and shoot them now, or someone's like a zombie's head and just kill them in one sort of thing. Even that is changed in a way, and it completely changes the dynamic of the game because if you shoot them in the jaw, like it doesn't do anything. Like their jaw will like come off sort of thing, and they'll carry on coming after you though, and you're like, oh shit, like that didn't work. And you got to shoot them like right between the eyes, otherwise
Hmm.
it doesn't do it. There's things like that they included that just make the game go back to its sort of horror roots, which is a really, really good way of going. Like they could have made this like stupid action over the top, like you're shooting zombies come around the corners with 2 pistols and so they could have done that, but they didn't,
Right.
and I'm really, really glad they didn't. And they made it so like every bullet counts. It's very slow. It's very methodical. It's very eerie. Like I've got a couple of problems with like how the game sort of opens and how different it was in terms of the nostalgia feeling compared to Resident Evil 2. But if you've never played Resident Evil 2 and you go into this, you'll love it. Like it's such a great game. Highly, highly recommended. Totally worthy of a Game of the Year announcement, Game of the Year nomination. More power to them. I hope that they carry on with this. I know that they're doing Resident Evil 3 next.
Yeah.
I hope they keep pushing through. And Christ Almighty, if there is no Dino Crisis remake announced within the next 12 months, I'm going to lose my shit, man. I'm going to go over to Capcom and start shaking people. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Dino Crisis, remake it. Should be amazing. And I hope that they do. And if they do, that'll probably be my most anticipated game for that year. So, more power to them. But yeah, very, very, very cool game. I really, really enjoyed Resident Evil 2 remake. And I hope that the tradition carries on with Resident Evil 3 remake. So yeah, how about you, man? What is your number 2? We're coming down to the edges here. So number 2,
coming
best
down.
game of the year.
I can't believe I'm saying this. My number 2 is Dragon Quest XI S Definitive Edition.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying it, man.
This Dragon Ball looking JRPG from the 90s, like
really... Akira Toriyama. Every character looks the same. Have an ass, motherfucker. Like Dude, I've never played a Dragon Quest game before.
Okay.
I've been Final Fantasy my entire life. I
Mm.
knew it was there. I saw it in the peripheral.
They were
And
the rivals.
you know what Nintendo did? They fucking brought back the demo. Remember when the online downloadable demo used to mean something, Vin? You remember that day? Guess what? Nintendo had a 10-hour long Dragon Quest 11 demo you could download, and you could play the game for 10 fucking hours. And I started it because it was free. And I played those 10 hours. And I'm like, wow, this really feels like an old school 16-bit JRPG. 10 hours? I'm not done with this. This is at least worth a purchase, right? At
Right.
least. Well, what else would it be worth? But it's worth a purchase. So I bought it, and your save transfers over. And it was
Oh,
just
that's
like,
nice. That's a nice touch.
oh, totally. Oh, I'm not playing those 10 hours again. I might as well just hang myself. Um, it's just like JRPG soul food. And what I like is it's not adding like too many weird like additions to try to shake up the JRPG system, like the
Mm.
paradigm system in Final Fantasy 13 or Bravely Default, where you like default or you brave. I don't even know if that's what it's called. I didn't play either
That's
of those
exactly what it's called.
games.
That's why I'm laughing. That's
Are you
exactly what it's
serious?
called. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It's
my god.
the brave and default. Yeah,
Oh
I'm not
god.
even joking.
Well, yeah. Yeah, Bravely Default the second, Bravely Default 2. What is this fucking Rambo?
Dude, I don't
It's like
even.
the worst naming conventions, but anyways. So, yeah, it's just like it's one of those games. It's you sit on the couch, you listen to a podcast, and you just have a great time exploring a super colorful world with colorful characters, a very interesting party. You go to a kingdom, there's something wrong. The king got turned into a fucking frog. That doesn't happen
Of
in the game.
course.
I'm just like,
Right.
okay, hey, guess what? I think the problem is in the cave that's right next to the kingdom. You go there, there's a witch in the cave. You kill the witch, and then the king turns back into a human, and then you move on to the next area and the next kingdom, and so on and so forth. We've all
Right.
played these games, but it does it so well. It's not like
Mm.
eye rolling, been here, done that. Even though you have been here and you have done that, and it does change up things in interesting ways. One weird thing about this game is you can beat this game. The end game is like 20 hours long, and the fucked up thing about it is it's totally necessary to the story because
Yeah.
when you beat the actual final boss, no, the first final boss, it is not the end of the there is so much more story after that that if you would have put the controller down after you beat that what you thought was the final boss, it is like such a detriment to the story because so much happens after that. And I'm going to give the award to the stupidest looking final boss of 2019 is the final boss of this game. Is this Vin, please look up, well, there's Mortigan, Dragon Quest 11. I actually forgot his name. Yeah, please look up Mortigan. DQ11 Mortigan.
Okay.
Please look up, and then
All right. Images. What, the punk rock looking dude?
all right, and the final form Calasmos, Calasmos.
Is
Dragon
this the
Quest
big
11.
snaky skull thing?
Um,
No.
first form is punk rock dude. Second form is Calasmos.
Colossus. All right. Images. Oh, Jesus. It looks like. Why is he so cute?
And he's like that. His head is takes up like the entire screen. You don't get to see his full body. It's like the dumbest looking final boss I've seen in a long time. But it's just
That's funny.
it's so much fun. And one thing I will say is like there are so many winks and nods and homages or homages. That's how the
The
people
rich
say
folk.
it. The rich folks
Yeah.
say it. Yeah. To like the other games, and it actually links back to specifically one of the games. I'm not going to say which. That it
Right.
like kind of makes me sad that I hadn't played any of the games, because like someone who's played these games, it would have been like, fuck man, like
Yeah, like Eco
you're
shows up in The Last Guardian or something.
or something like that. You're like, whoa, what the
Yeah.
hell? Yeah, like Kefka shows back up, and like or
Right.
something crazy, like not something as pandery as that, but like there's and then there's like they open a door to like Dragon Quest 12 that's like just it made me feel something like this Disney Mickey Mouse magic bullshit special thing, and I have no ties to any of these older games. Like,
That's a shame.
yeah, it's weird, but yeah, I didn't expect to like this game this much, and it's great. It's JRPG soul food, and it's really
Awesome.
really good.
Yeah,
How about you?
I'm probably gonna pick that up at some point, just like so I've got something to play on my Switch.
Oh man,
'cause I've
if you have a lot of podcasts to listen to, pick up Dragon Quest 11.
Fair play. I'll remember that.
And how about you? Number 2, getting up to it.
Number 2, my runner-up for Game of the Year, which is this is going to be weird to say, but I think it is actually Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like I enjoyed it that much.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I think
almost.
I don't think a COD will ever win Game of the Year ever, but it's always there, you know,
Oh.
like it's just in the background. But no, I really enjoyed the campaign. I thought it was one of the strongest campaigns, and I hope that format of how they sort of tell their stories continues on like that going forward. Because it had some good twists. It was non-stop. It was full on action. Game looks amazing. Showed me some new perspectives which I hadn't really thought about in a video game before, nor in real life before. I guess like it does it in a way where it's not like too on the nose. The mechanics of how you do sort of raids in the game and doing that like Zero Dark 30 style of gameplay it was just really refreshing to see in a game like that, and just purely based on the campaign. The multiplayer is serviceable, like it's COD, you know, like you shoot people, it's fun for the first few weeks, and then you go back to it in 6 months, and everyone's got pink helmets and pink guns, and everyone's you know,
Right.
and it just looks fucking ridiculous. And you're like, I just don't want to play this. Same thing happened when I played Call of Duty World War II. Like you go inside, it's like it's World War II. Like there's only so much they can make. There's only so pinkified they can make this.
Right.
You load it up, everyone's got pink helmets. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake! Like really, how'd you mess this up? But yeah, I'm sure like the multiplayer will deteriorate into that, quote unquote deteriorate, but it has plenty to do. The story drove it for me. I had fun with the game in the time that I had. I played it twice, really loved it. Really surprised by how good it actually was. I recommend people pick it up. It's actually a really good game.
Oh, wow.
So we are here, my friend, and you're dying. So let's
I'm
just get through
dying.
this before you like keel over. But Game of the Year 2019, sir, what is your pick?
Game of the Year 2019 is Hollow Knight.
Nice. I still haven't played this.
I mean, if you like Metroidvanias, it's like, Vin, this might be the best Metroidvania ever made, and this is coming from someone who
big statement. That is a big statement.
Puts like Super Metroid in like the top 5 games of all time. Or, and you know what, if you wanted to switch that out for Metroid Fusion or Metroid Zero Mission, which is like the remake of 1, fine. But what we're saying is, can a game that is taking elements from the original Metroidvania of the Metroid series, can that topple the games that created the genre per se?
I'd say so. I say that's a fair statement.
It's possible. It's close, man. Like, it is, like, I've played a lot of them, man. Like, after can I say man a couple more times? I'm just so excited.
Yeah, man. Go for it, man.
Fuck, man. Like Guacamelee.
That's when you know it's good.
Guacamelee 2, SteamWorld Dig, Axiom Verge, Iconoclast, Yoku's Island Express. It's just I love them. I love Metroidvanias. I love these kind of side-scrolling worlds where like it's kind of labyrinthine in design, and you are digging and searching, and you find power ups, and that gives you opportunities to access new areas and so on and so forth. And Hollow Knight just knocks it right out of the park. We did one of the earlier episodes. It's either episode 2 or 3, I believe, of Coffee and Beer podcast. I talk about when I played Hollow Knight for the first time. And it's just genius in concept. I love the idea of like you're going underground in this giant labyrinth, but the whole game, all the characters in the game are bugs. So it actually makes more sense because bugs dig labyrinthine tunnels and holes underground. So it kind of takes that idea of like, why is this all taking place underground? Like, what's going on here? Like, oh, it totally makes sense because they're fucking bugs. This is where they live, type of thing. It does everything. Like the combat is great, the power-ups. It's a hard game. It's challenging, but it's totally possible. I mean, I don't know, someone coming from, like playing Neo and obviously that's a kind of a 3D like action game.
No, it's about like your level of perseverance, I guess, when it comes to that sort of stuff. Like, so it does translate over.
And there's a mystery there. There's a story that you definitely would have to watch YouTube videos on. I'm sorry to say, Vin, you will not figure out the story by yourself. I'm sorry.
They gotta stop doing this, man. They gotta stop it.
That is definitely a sigh, but it's got that challenge. It's you've banked 4,000 bug coins. I don't remember the fuck they're called, and you're digging. Like I told you, like if you don't find the cartographer for a new area, you don't have the map. So you're desperately trying to find him. And if you die, it's like you have to go back to where you died and kill, like you're basically like just kind of like, I don't know, it's like a spirit of your former self to get your stuff back.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff's kind of annoying. I actually usually don't like that stuff, but there's something about this game that just makes it passable, excusable. And it's just, yeah, man, it is such an amazing game. And it's the most frustrating but the best time that I've had with a game this year. And I've never felt, it's been a long time since I've like felt better after beating a boss. And I'm talking about like put the controller down on the coffee table, hands shaking, and just like feeling that like, oh, like, and it's not like the type of fuck you, like just frustrated that you had to go through that. It was like
an actual sense of achievement. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Hollow Knight is it's a wild ride.
You've basically made up my mind now because I'm actually traveling to the States on Saturday, and I've got like a couple of days on a plane there and back. So, and I was wondering like what game I should take with me, but I've got Hollow Knight on the Switch. So yeah, I'll probably take that now. So you've made up my mind for me, sir. So I appreciate it.
Oh, and I'm like a 100% Docker. You know what you're talking about? Like a hard truther.
Right. Yeah.
If there were a game to take on a plane, like Hollow Knight is definitely that type of game.
That's the one. All right, cool.
Definitely.
Good to know.
All right, and so that's the 2015 game of 2019 game of the year is Hollow Knight. And
hey, man, it counts. It counts.
Yeah, Vin, how about yourself? What is your game of the year 2019?
All right, so my game of the year for 2019 is Star Wars Jedi Knight Fallen Order.
Okay, wow. Yeah, so Vin and I don't divulge our top fives beforehand on the list, so I didn't know. So tell me about it. I've heard good, I've heard bad, I've heard mostly positive. So walk me through it.
This game has no business being as good as it is. Like it just
nice opening
it just shouldn't.
line.
Right, it just shouldn't be. Like, everything about it, it's just like, really, this is a Star Wars game, but it's a Souls game with Metroidvania aspects to it in a semi-open world format. Like, this is going to be horrible.
Yeah, that sounds like a mishmash that, like, shouldn't happen.
I was blown away by this game. I couldn't believe how good it was. Just in terms of, like, going to the bare bones basics, like, I think what most people care about when it comes to a Star Wars title is what the story is like, and it feels like a Star Wars movie. You know, just how the characters are, like the lore, the things that are happening. Like if this was a film, I would totally buy it. Like I would get it. Like it's like, yeah, this is classic Star Wars, and you can tell like the people that worked on this are massive fans of that sort of thing. They sort of shy away from being too like they don't lean into like the midichlorians and all that sort of shit like that. It's very much like the old style of Star Wars where everything's everything's about rumor and all that sort of stuff, like, oh, you're a Jedi Knight and stuff like that. But the story, it just fits. Like everything is great. You play as a guy called Cal Kestis, and you're a Jedi Knight, and it's after Order 66 has gone through. So all the Jedi Knights have pretty much been wiped out in the world, and all the knights that are like still out there are in hiding. But something forces you out of hiding, and you sort of band together with another couple of people, and you just go on this adventure, basically trying to like figure out what's happened and try to help the cause in whatever way you can. And it's very much like that sort of space pirate feel of what a Star Wars movie / game is. But just in terms of the mechanics, though, like the game just was really successful for me personally. I know there's a lot of people out there, like I've read reviews and how people feel about it. There's a lot of people that are sort of like put off by how, like, I would call this game like a Dark Souls light. Like it's the best way to describe it. It's got a difficulty level, but it's still got the same sort of combat, like lock onto targets. You can get killed in a couple of hits. Same thing as like any other Dark Souls, but it's a lot more forgiving in a way where the game is just more enjoyable for it. And I think this game is actually a really good sort of example of why Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, or whatever you want to call it, like Soulsborne games, like I think that's like the actual title now. It's a really good sort of example of why them games need a difficulty slider almost, because it actually works. And if the game is getting too difficult and it's too frustrating or whatever, it's like, just knock the difficulty down for half an hour, build up, because like some days you have a bad day, some days you have a good day, and I just, at the end of the day, I just want to sit down and enjoy the game. And this is one of the games where I really did enjoy the game. I had a great time with it. Like the way that the abilities are unlocked, they're unlocked throughout the whole game. It isn't like, the first few hours you've unlocked everything and that's it, you're just OP for the rest of the game. Like all the way through the game, you're constantly unlocking like really big meaningful abilities and weapons and things like that. The only bad thing about the game is like the character customization and stuff, like how like you pick up ponchos, I guess. Like it's
you don't like ponchos? What's going on?
No, I mean I don't mind ponchos. Ponchos are cool, but like when 90% of them are brown, like different variations of brown. It's kind of like, really, what was the point? But yeah, I mean, the places that this game goes is like some of the places that some of the movies should have gone. I think it's one of the best sort of Star Wars. It is the best Star Wars game. I would put that money in my pot like any day of the week.
Wait, you're saying it's better than Shadow of the Empire? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, I would say that. It's one of the best Star Wars games I've played, if not the best for me. But if it isn't for other people, then it's in their top 3. It has to be. Like it's that good. And I was really, really surprised by how good it was. Like I was hoping that it would be good, because I was really desperate for like a good action adventure game at that time when it came out. And then when it was announced, when the reviews came out and it was getting 8 and 9s, I was like, yes, okay, that's good. And I read all the reviews and I was like, all right, I'm in. This is gold. And I played it and I loved it. And I think you'll like it purely because of the Metroidvania aspect to it. Like you go into certain areas and it's like, oh, I can't reach that yet. Like, okay, maybe if I come back later with a certain ability, like I'll be able to reach up there. And then you get up there and it's a whole new area. And you're just constantly thinking about like other areas that you've been to. It's like, oh, I've got this ability now. I can go back there and I can do this and I can do that. But it's not in a way where it's frustrating, where you're like, oh, there's one of those areas which is just inaccessible. It's just it's presented to you in a way where it's like, oh, okay, I can't get over there. But then later on, like you can't actually see if there's another area over there, sort of thing. But later on, you get a new ability, like, actually, I remember that place where I thought I could get to somewhere, but I can't. Just that mixture of stuff, like it's really successful. In that
Say respect, no more. You had me at, oh, I remember that place. Let me go back there and use my new ability to open up, a new area.
And there's a lot. There's a ton of that stuff as well. So awesome. Like I just can't recommend the game enough. I think people should pick it up. It was slept on. Shame on you, Jeff Keighley, for leaving this out of the Game of the Years, because it came out quote unquote too late in the year.
They need to really change that time frame.
They really do. like as an aside to all of this, I didn't watch the Game of the Year awards this year. I literally made a point to vote with my wallet and not give them the view, just purely because of not only like the weird controversy with like Kojima and how Keighley sort of interacted with him and how many nominations he got. Not only that, but just like how Jedi Fallen Order like fell off the radar because it quote unquote came out too late and it's going to get swamped this year.
Dude,
it's not going to get anything.
So basically it was 2017, 2018, 2019, right? Horizon Zero Dawn got snubbed, Spider-Man got snubbed, and now Jedi Fallen Order got snubbed.
How far we've come. I mean, I've got a bit of faith and I hope that it does get better in the future. And I hope, Keighley, please just make it in January. That would be the first step in the right direction. Because the December pipeline is just not fair to the games that come out in December. Because there's always one that gets to cut, and they're always like 9 or 10s that deserve to be there, and they're not. So
yeah, I agree.
We'll see. But yeah, that is our Game of the Year show for 2019. It was a bit of a long one, but we will probably cut out a few of these, I'm sure.
I am. Trust me, I'm definitely cutting out several of these awards. But no one will notice, so you won't know what awards we're cutting out. But yeah.
We didn't cut anything. It was all perfect. We got it down. Perfect.
All right, I would like to wrap up this episode with a gaming 2020 New Year's resolution. So, and I'm telling.
Don't look at trophies.
So this is basically like I'm putting it out in the open, so I have to do it.
Right. People are holding you accountable now.
Yeah. People are holding me accountable. I promise. Okay. Fuck, I said it. My 2020 gaming New Year's resolution is I will start and finish Persona 5 Royale in 2020. I said it here. It's going to happen. It has to now.
Okay, what are the consequences if you don't?
I have to eat like a disgusting sandwich or something. I don't know. I got
No, I know what you have to do. If you don't finish Persona 5 Royal Edition, then you have to play Persona 1 on the PlayStation 1 from start to finish. How's that? Have you seen that game?
I've played 2 and 3. No,
Yeah,
I've never played 3.
1.
2 is, it's archaic to say the least.
1 is what's the word I would use? Unbearable. It's terrible. Like it's oof, that game. It's on the PlayStation 1 Classic, and I got like 3 hours into it, and I was like, wow, this is terrible. Like, how the hell did they get funded for the second one or even the third one?
Well, wait a minute. So let's just say what if I don't fulfill that punishment? Then what do I have to play?
Barbie Horse Racing 3 from start to finish.
It's
just going to get worse and worse. like in a few years, you're going to be like, oh man, like what am I playing next?
Instead of a backlog of like Dishonored 2 and Doom 2016, it's going to be like Persona 1, Barbie Horse Racing 3, just a nightmare backlog. All right, Vin. I think I put you on the spot here. Do you have a gaming resolution for 2020?
Gaming resolution. Not really, if I'm honest. Like, it's kind of hard. I mean, I could probably jump on the bandwagon with you though.
You have to. I'll give you an easy one. You have to. This is less yours and more so mine. You have to purchase the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, and we have to dedicate an entire episode to it.
Okay, I think the only person the only people that are feeling that pain are going to be the listeners, though. Let's be honest. Like, they're going to be like, "What the fuck are these two talking about?"
That's like buying my girlfriend like a PS5. Like, what? It's like, oh hey, wow, hey. By the way, can I play this immediately? But
pretty
yeah.
much. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. My game resolution is to pick up a TurboGrafx 16. Actually, play all of the games so we can have a real discussion about it.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we'll see how painful it actually is.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. If you did get all the way through this, then we appreciate your listenership, and we hope that you'll carry on with it throughout 2020. We've got a lot more ahead. We're going to be a bit more consistent, we hope. Anyway, that's granted if our computers don't die and we don't have like crazy live issues. But we'll figure it out. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
get there. But we appreciate you listening when you do and when you can, either way. If you do want to find us, you can find us at Coffee Beer Cast. Find us on Twitter. We're also on pretty much every podcast service at this point. All the ones the big ones anyway. If you can't find us on your podcast service, whatever it is, then tweet us and we will add it to it, because I'm sure we can. There's some way that we can get around it. So at Coffee Beer Cast, let us know what you think. Let us know what your game of the years were. Let us know what you disagree with, what you do agree with. If you don't agree with any of us, then just don't listen to us, I guess. That's probably the best way of going around it. But you can also send us a comment and let us know what you don't agree with. So, yeah, past that, where can people find you, Mr. Piotrowski?
You can find me at The Stand User on Twitter, Sifted, and Giant Bomb. How about yourself?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Hillfort Games. You can find me on some of my finger paintings from there from time to time. I'm also on ArtStation. You can find me at Vin Hill Art, I think it is. If you just type in Vin Hill Art, it'll probably come up on Google. Like I've poisoned the internet, and I'm the herpes. I'm everywhere, and you can never get rid of me. So I'm always in Google. Indeed.
Okay.
And on that wonderful note, don't Google herpes.
Final thing, shout out to Mitch. He is an employee of Sifted.net now. He moved to LA.
Oh, nice.
And he's working with Shane and Matt on some Sifted stuff. I'm actually not quite sure yet, but yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah, good luck to him. I hope that works out for him.
All right, and in line with that, in the words of Mitch, going to Disneyland.
Yay.
For some reason, he said that at the end of an episode once. I'm not quite sure what you're going on about. How'd you get hired at Sifted.net?
I don't know. That guy can't even talk.
I'm the last one to criticize anyone for not being able to.
More power to him. But yeah, we wish him luck on his endeavors. We hope that we see you guys next time. So,
yep.
Until next time. Bye-bye.